I've been looking for you for a long time. I have some questions that only you can answer.
The diner ceiling fan rotated slowly, barely stirring the thick summer air that clung to the room like a wool blanket. It was just past noon, and the heat outside had seeped in, making everything feel heavy and still. Frank Ironjaw, Callahan, sat at his usual place at the counter, a silent fixture in a place that barely noticed its regulars anymore. His sleeveless white t-shirt clung to his back with sweat, exposing arms that looked like they were carved from stone-weathered, powerful, and inked with history. The tattoo on his right bicep caught the light, a sharp, jagged insignia with a dagger piercing through it. The ink had faded over the years, but the symbol remained unmistakable to anyone who truly knew what they were looking at. Across the room, a young man in a Navy SEAL dress uniform was mid-bite into his burger when he saw it. The color drained from his face. The sandwich slipped from his fingers onto the plate as he stared, frozen. His spine stiffened as if he'd been struck. That mark, it couldn't be. It wasn't possible. For a long moment, the low hum of the diner persisted, the clink of silverware, the sputter of the coffee machine. The back column was about to fracture. Frank, unaware of the eyes locked onto him, took another sip of his iced tea. But then he felt that rare, unmistakable sensation of being watched, not just with curiosity, but with reverence and recognition. The young SEAL approached. He was in his early 30s, standing tall with the rigid posture of someone born into discipline. As he stepped into Frank's peripheral vision, Frank saw the tremor in his hands. That detail told him everything he needed to know. This wasn't just admiration. This was something deeper. That tattoo, the younger man murmured barely, louder than the buzz of the ceiling fan. You were with Red Sand. Frank's glass met the counter with more force than intended. A sharp clack echoed through the diner. His eyes narrowed. No one's supposed to know that name, he said, flatly. No one who isn't buried in a file somewhere. Petty Officer Jake Reyes had only seen that insignia once on a restricted document in a classified file, buried so deep that even most admirals had never heard of it. The name Red Sand had been whispered to him by his grandfather, just days before he passed, a name that came wrapped in blood, smoke, and silence. And now here it was, inked into living flesh. In front of him stood one of the ghosts from those files, a man built like a fortress, with eyes like ash-covered coals, staring at him like he'd just stepped out of another lifetime. I don't know what you think you know, kid, Frank said, wiping condensation from his glass. But you've got the wrong man. Jake didn't hesitate. He reached into his wallet and pulled out an old, worn photo. It showed a much younger Jake, maybe 7 or 8 years old, standing next to an elderly Filipino man with kind eyes and a proud, tired smile. My grandfather, Jake said. His name was Eduardo. He was your interpreter. He told me you saved 17 men before they left you behind. Frank's hand froze mid-motion. His breath caught in his throat. He stared at the photo, and for a long moment, the world narrowed to just that face. Eduardo, the only civilian who had stayed behind when the evacuation failed. The only one who refused to leave wounded soldiers to die in the dust. The only one who carried the injured on his back until fever took him. The ice in Frank's glass cracked loudly as his grip tightened. His voice, when it came, was rough and sharp with memory. They told you we ran, didn't they? He growled. Jake nodded slowly. The report said. Frank's voice rose like a thunderclap, silencing the diner in an instant. The clatter of dishes stopped. A fry cook leaned on the grill, watching. In silence. We held that LZ for 72 hours, Frank barked. No ammo, no comes. Just grit and God. Your grandfather carried our wounded like they were his own sons. He never quit. He died a hero, and we never got to tell anyone. Never had the chance. Jake stood frozen, throat tight with emotion. Then, before the entire diner, he stood at full attention and snapped a salute so sharp it seemed to cut the air. His triceps trembled with the force of it. His eyes glistened. Frank rose slowly from his stool, his joints creaking, his body still strong but slower than it used to be. He studied Jake's face, really looked at him for the first time, and saw Eduardo's defiant chin, those same determined eyebrows. He returned the salute with slow, deliberate precision, the tattoo on his arm stretching across the muscle. When Jake lowered his hand, his voice cracked. "Master Chief Callahan, I have something for you." From his bag, he pulled out a small wooden box, aged, scarred, carefully preserved. My grandfather kept this. His notes, names, coordinates, everything. Enough to get your men the recognition they were denied. Enough to make it real. Frank took the box in his callous hands. They didn't shake as much as he expected. Above them, the ceiling fan clicked gently. Somewhere in the back, coffee began to brew again. The diner returned to its rhythm. Outside, the sun burned. On the pavement, for the